the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Yeah, like that would be the dream, to be a fantasy journalist, I guess.
Interesting. Never knew that. Wow. That was wild. Just the degenerate story here. I didn't know that. We learned something new about everybody here on this program each and every week. Something we did not learn anything new about the Tennessee Volunteers, where the same story through 3 weeks. The offense has continued to struggle in conference play. The defense has continued to dominate, and Dylan Sampson has continued to be the best player on Tennessee's offense. None of that's really changed in conference play. Tennessee 2-1 in those games. They beat Florida for the second time in their last 3 seasons. First time they've beaten Florida in back-to-back home games since 1990 and 1992. Most important development for Tennessee in this game coming out of it is what, in your estimation, Ryan Schumpert?
It's kind of hard when you talk developments because, like you said, it was in so many ways such a similar game to the Arkansas game the week before. I'll just say in short, Keenan Pili getting injured and his season being done. I know we'll talk more about that later, so I won't harp on that too much now. But I think it's the offensive line looking really, really bad again against what, being at home, you thought, okay, it might be a little bit better. Florida, fine pass rush, but not a great one. You think they might hold up fine there. And I mean, Florida, granted, had been good the week before against a fine UCF rushing attack. But besides that, I mean, in the A&M and Miami games, and even the Mississippi State game, Florida's run defense was really bad, and Tennessee could not run the ball at all in this game, or very little in this game, besides a few plays here or there. And certainly Dylan Sampson had a lot to do with those plays more than the offensive line did. I guess besides maybe his touchdown run, there was good blocking on that play, or his longer touchdown run. So I think it was just how bad the offensive line looked, given that it was at home. It felt like kind of like what I said last week, where surely it won't be this bad again. It's usually not as bad as it looks or as good as it looks. It looked maybe not quite just as bad in pass protection, but it still looked really bad. And then it also was bad in the run game. So I think that's probably my biggest takeaway from the game.
I mean, Cooper's been really good all season long.
Yeah.
Cooper is solid.
Harris has been pretty good too. Spraggles is the one I don't get. He's been really good for Tennessee for multiple years, and he's just struggled now for half a season.
Yeah, I don't really know what to make of that, but it's still like you've seen enough good football from Spraggs that you're like, I'll believe it when I see it that that's a long-term thing for Spraggs. But I think the other part of it is just I don't know if you agree, Jack, but to me, I think Lance Hurd took a step forward, and John Campbell was more of like the 3 penalties, and I think he struggled more at right tackle than Hurd struggled at left as the game went on. Like the first quarter, I think was a little choppy for Hurd, but I think especially in the second half, I mean, Hurd was running out, pulling for Sampson on the big touchdown run, and just different things where I think Hurd got better as the game went on. And I kind of wrote about this today, where I think Hurd is settling in, and to me, it's starting to feel like it was just the lack of playing time for a while, just being away, and then getting back into shape and getting back into his groove in this offense and getting more and more comfortable. I'm hedging. I think I'm looking at Hurd as a situation that I think is going to continue to get better. I think as the season goes on, I think Hurd's going to settle in and be fine. Campbell is the one in more of my concern, where now we have a good track record here through the season where I'm like, I don't know, like the penalties plus the pass pro plus, like it seems like there's multiple things still going on with Campbell at right tackle that kind of concern me.
Yeah, Lance Hurd has the higher ceiling. I mean, that's why he was the big Portal Lands, John Campbell's 5th, 6th year, and he is what he is, I think. And Hurd will probably get a bad rap, and I've probably fell victim to this too immediately after the game, just because Hurd's bad plays early on were so bad. Like it was just such an eyesore, those plays, especially it was like back-to-back too on that drive for Lance Hurd. But you're right, he did get better as I went back and watched throughout the game. So I think you have to be still a little bit optimistic about that position and it improving. But just overall, the tackle spot, I don't think both are going to be above average consistently. And that hurts. And I don't think the tackle spot will ever be a strength for Tennessee. And you talked about the run blocking and the run game in general. As Dylan Sampson always does, found a way late in game and, was able to break a couple of runs. But that's what I noticed in the first half. It's just, I went into this game like all Tennessee has to do is literally run the ball almost every down and they'll win. And they weren't doing that, but they were running it a lot. And Sampson's average was just not good. And I'm like, how is this happening against this Florida team with such a porous run defense? So that was probably a development I was very concerned about in this game. It got there in the end, but it doesn't feel like Tennessee can just run down someone's throat no matter who it is. Even in a good matchup, it wasn't dominant for Tennessee when I expected it to be. And if the run game just can't flat out be above average every game or dominate teams who aren't great at stopping the run, and the passing game is going to be this bad with this bad of protection and this mediocrity at wide receiver, it's hard to have high hopes for this offense. Last thing I'll say about a development from this game offensively is Chris Brazzell, I thought, looked his best. And, the catch that didn't count was awesome, and he made some sick plays. I know just the passing offense wasn't great, so the numbers maybe don't bear it out, but I thought Chris Brazzell definitely looked his best and probably got more opportunity with Dante, obviously not getting his normal snap share.
Well, I didn't understand the Dante part of it, where Dante comes in late
right?
and he was a big factor, obviously, in overtime. He didn't get many snaps, but I don't understand if he was ready to go at the end, why we didn't see Dante earlier on in this game, especially with Brew. I mean, Brew didn't have a catch, right? Like, I don't even think they...
Brew didn't have it. He had one target when Nico slung that bad boy into triple coverage in the first half.
Yeah, that was to Brew.
Yes.
But, I mean, I don't know. I didn't really understand the Dante thing. Did anybody ask about that this week to Heupel?
No, nobody asked about that. I mean, I was surprised he played like after the game, seeing the snap counts the next day. I was surprised he played as few snaps as he did because I noticed multiple times in the second half of plays that he was in, like different drives. And the way that came out, it would have only had to been like him playing one play, like him coming in on a couple third downs. So that was a little bit strange. I mean, we've quickly seen Josh Heupel just trying to not get myself in trouble here. Been the truth with the availability report. Dante Thornton, good, plays 3 plays. Christian Harrison doesn't play a snap. He was good to go according to the availability report. So all that stuff was strange. And the Brew McCoy thing, like, did I not think he could catch? Was it just, is that truly how the game played out? That it just didn't end up throwing him the ball any, when despite the fact that he's been Nico's number 1 target all season? I don't know. That whole thing felt really weird to me. And if you don't feel confident, and they got him the ball one time and it was on a jet sweep, which Brew McCoy, not really a jet sweep guy when you think about his game a whole lot. To me, that was just very weird. And it's like, if he's not pretty close to 100%, why are you not just playing Mike Matthews or Caleb Webb in this spot? I don't get it. And like, my only counter argument to that would be, all right, Brew McCoy, great blocker, and certainly that matters in the run game too. But Tennessee didn't throw a single, like, one of those wide receiver screens in the entire game. So it wasn't like that was a big plan of, all right, we're going to throw a lot of these quick passes like we did against Arkansas. We need him out there to block. So a lot of the stuff with the receivers didn't make sense to me. Though Chris Brazzell, very good game. I'm completely with you, Jack.
I mean, that's a big development. If Chris Brazzell, is it Brazzell or Brazzell? Because I went Brazzell first, and then I was saying Brazzell for a while because I heard some other people say Brazzell.
I don't really know, but Brazzell's is cooler. If it's
Brazzell is cooler.
Just take that.
All right.
One thing I'll say too, quickly on Brazzell/Brazzell, like, I think they need to run more of those plays, like the one you talked about, Jack, that he didn't get his foot on bounds, or kind of when he when he got pushed out. Like, that was the whole thing he was supposed to be good at, was jump balls. That's what we saw in the little bit we got to watch in fall camp, was him making plays on a lot of jump balls. And now Tennessee did have a couple instances of guys running open down the field in this game, but I don't think you're going to have a ton of that in your offense. So I think it makes more sense to take some of these deep shots by just throwing some one-on-one balls to him.
Well, part of the development too, I mean, I think Nico was a lot better rolling out. Like, that needs to be just a consistent part of this offense, is Nico rolling out and throwing. He's just really good off platform. Like, Nico is really comfortable off platform. And that's very different than any quarterback we've seen in the Heupel offense to this point. Like, he has a very different skill set than Hendon, and a very different skill set than Joe. I thought he ran a little bit more. I thought Tennessee would actually call a lot more design runs for Nico in this game than they ended up doing.
I wonder if
that was something
fumble
I'd
on
written
the first
down.
drive changed plans.
I didn't really understand that, especially because Florida not doing a 3-2-6 stack was interesting. Florida was like, no, we're going to just run our normal defense. And I wondered how that would affect how Tennessee was going to go about stuff. I mean, the tight ends weren't really involved. Kitselman's kind of fallen off the last couple weeks as a pass catcher for Tennessee. We saw a little bit of Ethan Davis, and I liked what I saw, and I just don't really understand when you're having these kind of issues in the passing game that Ethan Davis is not more involved, because we talk about Matthews getting more involved. Davis, you're older, bigger target, and it kind of goes to the Brew thing, to your point, Ryan, where I wondered the same thing, where if it's one thing, like, it's cool because you heard all week, Brew's a warrior, that much is true, like, obvious, and same with Squirrel, pushing through and playing in this game, but it's also like, if Brew isn't really, like, if, like, it's one of those chicken or the egg things where we don't know inside the building what that looks like, but if Brew can't catch, and if Brew, you're not designing a lot of stuff for Brew because of what he's dealing with, then why not go somewhere else, especially when you are struggling in the passing game? Like, that's part of when you hype up the depth all off season, that should come into effect, right? Like, I don't know, Jack. That was my first thought. It's like, if you're gonna hype up this depth and everything else, then hey, Brew can't go. Like, we appreciate you trying to gut it out, but like, hey man, rest up and get right, and then let's show our depth. Let's show the other guys we have that we can rotate and do this and the other. I don't know. I was just kind of surprised at the wide receiver rotation as a whole, and where they went with the ball in this game against Florida.
Yeah, it was weird, and Mike's the one you obviously want to see play more, because I think Chaz and Webb are what they are.
But we haven't seen enough of Webb. I don't know. Webb, I don't know.
I just don't think he's ever going to be a difference maker, for Tennessee.
Yeah. I don't know.
They're solid, but like, I don't. And Chaz is obviously ahead of Webb.
I do know.
You do know what?
It says Chase goes, I don't know about Caleb Webb. I do know.
I don't need to see. You don't know, Ryan. You don't know. We haven't seen it. We don't know.
We saw plenty of it last year.
We haven't seen. I'm talking a lot of snaps. We haven't seen a lot of snaps from Caleb Webb.
Well, there's no world where he's getting a lot of snaps, and they clearly feel more confident with Brew McCoy playing with one hand out there than they do.
I don't know. I'm still like the Cedric Tillman. Like, he has the same exact size and frame. I won't quit it. I won't move off. His high school tape at McEachern, really good. I'm not selling my Caleb Webb stock.
His look.
Yes. I'm not selling my stock. I don't care. You're not going to force me into this.
That's how I'm with Dante.
He's not bad. He's like a Mocha X4 and Karan Butler. He's not bad. But
I'm just not selling it. Y'all can next year. It's the one, like, that's all he needs. 1 year, and then off to the NFL next year. Like the final year. Just stick around one more year, Caleb, and then like the breakout. I don't know. I can't do it. He has the look. I'm telling you. I just can't. Like, you see it, and you're like, could it be a Ramel Keaton thing? He waits his turn, and then look, that final year.
Ramel Keaton, what a season he had.
I know, but that blew us all away. Like, I couldn't believe the kind of year Ramel Keaton had last year. I don't know.
No, in 22, I think was the more surprise. Last year he was bad.
But he was going to be, like, Joe, the connection was, we thought coming into the year that Joe and Ramel were going to be really good together.
Yes, and they weren't.
I know. But I'm just saying,
no one saw Keaton coming, and he was solid as a rotational piece. But
I don't know. I'm just not going to pretend to have a strong read on this, because it's just been everyone I thought is going to play. Like, I don't know if you all feel the same, but like, I'm just going to stop guessing where Tennessee's going at receiver and how this is all going to work, because I don't have a read for it at all.
I think you just continue. I just think you see what you saw at Brazzell in this game, and you continue going to that Squirrel short area target. They come out with the tempo, bang, bang, Squirrel, like moving down the field. Like, yes, it looks so good. And then the fumble, right? And it stalls everything. And then it's just like, I don't know. It just gets so clunky. Like that first drive right at the start, until Sampson was gashing them late, it was like, this is the best the offense looked. And I think you stick with what works. Squirrel short area, Brazzell getting Dante involved in designed plays to where he can display his explosiveness, and then Brew a third down option maybe. I don't know. I don't think we're going to see some receiver just have a blow-up season, though. Like, no surprises coming.
I don't know. Brazzell
breaking out.
I'm also not selling the Brazzell stock.
That wouldn't be that big of a surprise.
Not selling the Brazzell stock.
We've all been hyping him up. We've all been talking about
but up. Here's the thing, though, and this is what I talked about. I mean, this is this Saturday we've talked about, like, when is it actually going to be go time for the receivers? Like, when is it actually going to be, hey, like, we have to see some of these deep bombs hit. We have to see some of these guys performing at a high level, or it's going to finally bite Tennessee in the tail.
2 weeks
It's Saturday against Alabama. Like, this is the game.
2 weeks
This
ago at
secondary.
Arkansas.
Wait, say it again.
It was 2 weeks ago at Arkansas. It's
I
not
don't even think
Saturday
it was
at
that,
Alabama.
though. They still could have won that game. Like, Arkansas's offense wasn't scaring Tennessee. Like, they did enough to win that game. But I'm saying Alabama is the first offense they're going to play where they're going to have to score. The Tennessee passing game is going to have to be good. The Tennessee passing game to win on Saturday cannot look anything close to what it's looked like the last 3 weeks. I think this is the first time Tennessee's back is going to be against the wall where Nico and the receivers have to play at a high level to win the game.
I think the pressure is way more on Nico, though. Like, the pressure is on Nico, not the receiver. Like, there is pressure on the receiver, but the pressure's on Nico because he hasn't shown it.
Yeah, I don't know. You're right, Chase, and the fact that I'll score more points in this game. And look, Alabama's defense has certainly had plenty of struggles, but I just don't.
You can't be shut out
the,
again in this game in the first half, and
yeah,
Alabama.
no,
like that's just not
but
happening.
I just don't get this notion that there's all of a sudden, all right, the pressure's on the passing game, it's all going to click. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying after 7 games, this is such a huge game for me because this, like, if it's not now, I just don't know when it happens this year. If it's not against this Alabama secondary, because I think you're going to struggle with the front that Kentucky's going to throw at Tennessee. I think this offensive line is going to struggle there in a couple weeks. I think Mississippi State, I think that'll be fine, but we'll see. I mean, Jeff Lebby and Heupel know each other really well. We'll see what that game looks like with those two going up against each other. But Georgia, we know how that's gone in the passing game through 3 years. That you can't anticipate that's the ultimate. You have to see it to believe it in terms of Tennessee being able to throw the football on Georgia. And then Vanderbilt. I don't know. Like, Vanderbilt's just won. Like, we'll see where Vanderbilt's at. But right now, that's a toss up. But I look at Bama, and this is the secondary at home in this spot. I think all eyes are going to be on Milroe and Alabama's offense against Tennessee's defense. But I think all the folks who cover Tennessee and watch them a lot, all our eyes are on the Tennessee offense versus this very gettable Bama defense. One of the worst Bama defenses in a long time. So
for sure,
I don't know. Fan response.
My eyes are on both.
No. Nope, you only get one. You don't get like one set of eyes, Ryan. You only get to pick one to lock in on.
I mean, it depends on like what's more important for Tennessee to win the game. I think it's definitely the offense. Like, so in that sense, you set your eyes on offense. But to me, I think I know what the offense is. Like, it can be moderately better, but I don't think some big click is coming for this offense.
Well, the final thing on the Florida thing that I kind of was surprised about, and Jack, you kind of hit on this a little bit. Like, Cam Seldon's like been in the depth chart the last 2 weeks. It's not a Cam Seldon or. Cam Seldon is at number 2. The ors are Bishop, Keith, and Lewis. And we didn't see Cam Seldon again this week. And I mean, his size and build against this front that Florida's thrown out, I was surprised that in the first half struggles, we didn't see a Cam Seldon drive or two. Like, I'm surprised that Cam Seldon has not found his way back in it for at least a drive to see where he's at, because I think he is a different kind of back than what Samson's throwing.
Cam Seldon, by the way.
It's what?
Cam Seldon is an or.
I thought the or came after him, though. I thought the first or was after Bishop.
No, it's after Cam Seldon. Cam Seldon or Deshaun Bishop or Keith, Peyton Lewis.
I think it's a trust thing because Tennessee's been playing these close games where there's no margin for error, and they just trust Dylan Sampson way more. Like,
but you still got to try, right? Like, one drive, see where he's at. I don't know.
I would
keep trying.
So I don't. If you have even remotely a little bit of doubt in the types of games they played the last 2 weeks, heck no.
But think about who they've played. They were playing Jalen Wright as a true freshman. They played Dylan Sampson as a true freshman. They've run with that 3 running back trio the first 3 years. And they have gone so Dylan Sampson heavy. We haven't seen even Jalen Wright last year didn't get this much run.
I think Sampson's just better than all of those guys in more facets of the game.
Are we sure Sampson's better than Wright?
I think he's more complete now. Yeah, dude.
I don't think he's way better.
Last couple, he's not as explosive, but I think he's a better. He'll be better in the NFL.
I think it's more they don't trust. Sampson's so much better than the guys behind him compared to last year. And I wrote about this today, so I shot the numbers. But Sampson is like roughly 20 carries behind however many Jalen Wright had last year. So he's through 7
20 carries total?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he's about to eclipse it. But the one thing I will say is, like, they played 3 running backs in 21, but not really ever at the same time. They played 3 running backs when Tyon Evans had his falling out with the team.
So I'll never forget the Mizzou game. The Tion Evans Mizzou game.
He was good when he played.
Dude, really Tion Evans was a dude.
He was. I agree. But I think there's just Dylan Sampson's just in an offense that does not have a whole lot working. He's the one thing that is.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas podcast. Hell yeah.